Dear Diary, it's time to see what we are made of as Cardiff City return to the Premier League. It's a tough start away at Arsenal, but I feel like the squad has been improved from the one that demolished the Championship, albeit with a few areas we could still look to fix, so let's see if we can pick up some unexpected points to get things started. There's a few injury concerns, but nothing serious as of yet, and with a new contract locked in, I'm up for the challenge. Let's do this. Until next time. Hello everyone and welcome to episode 56 of FMOE here on Shaun Does FM with Cardiff City, and coming up today we step into the Premier League for the first time in this save, and we are kind of running through the alphabet to start off the season. First up, a trip away to take on Arsenal at the Emirates, and off the back of that we host Aston Villa. So if you are looking forward to our start in the Premier League at Cardiff City, then do remember to go down below, leave a thumbs up on the video, and if you haven't done so already and have been enjoying the series here on the channel, also remember to hit that subscribe button and turn that notification bell on as well. It is greatly appreciated. But we get to this stage of the season, the start of our first season in the Premier League and our second and a half season at Cardiff City, off the back of a transfer special that we did do a few days ago, where we ran through all the transfer business that we did do heading into our first taste of Premier League action. So if you missed that episode, I'll leave a link to it over in the top right corner. What that does mean is we can get into the nitty gritty of gameplay in today's episode, but a few things to cover off first, and we'll start off with our results from the pre-season that we did play while we were doing that transfer business in the last episode. And as you can see, results wise, it was a very good pre-season. One result there where we didn't pick up a win against the team from the Portuguese top division in Casapia. That was with what I would call a rotated team, so I suppose that isn't as bad. But apart from that, we won all of our other games, as you can see at the start, taking on a few teams from the region of Portugal, and off the back of that picking up some results against some decent teams, including the likes of Galatasaray. And we rounded things off with a 2-1 win against Inter Milan. So that is actually quite an encouraging result as we do head into the start of the Premier League season, albeit we are going to need to be on our game early on, because our first month in particular does look quite tough. We have 3 games, first up the 2 A teams, and then off the back of a EFL Cup second round tie against Shrewsbury, we take on Tottenham Hotspur. This could be a month we don't get that many points from. I think ideally we might get 2 points. That's what we might aim for with those 2 games at home against teams who you'd expect to get results against us. But if we can pull off 1 upset result, 1 win in amongst those, that would probably be quite a good month for us. And in terms of the season preview for the Premier League, all of the teams that did come up from the Championship are not rated very highly. We'll get my face cam out of the way for this. We are the highest ranked of those teams who did come up, albeit the exact same odds as QPR and slightly more favoured than Stoke. We are not expected to survive in the Premier League, albeit based on how well we did do in the Championship last season, I feel like that might be a little bit harsh, and hopefully we can upset the apple cart just a little bit and survive here in the top division of the English pyramid. But going into this first game of the season, where we do take on Arsenal, as you can see, they are predicted to finish 4th on the table. 2 players in the overall Dream 11 there in Martinelli and Bukayo Saka. They are predicted to finish 4th. They are in the Champions League. Sergio Conceição is in charge of them these days, and they still have a few players on their books currently from their top of the table season. In real life, Martin Odegaard still there, as well as Saka, and as you saw before, a few other players like Martinelli. This is going to be a tough test for us first up, especially away from home at the Emirates, and that task is made all the tougher because we are missing a few players through injury for this first game of the season. Most notably, Ben Hardy is not quite recovered from an injury he did pick up in that most recent friendly against Inter Milan, so Pierre Ing will start at right back in place of him. But apart from that, we are pretty close to full strength for this one. Still looking in the transfer market for a better ball-winning midfielder than both Andy Rinomhota and Connor Coventry. But apart from Ben Hardy, we are at full strength, and also Facundo Farias has just recovered from that injury that he had when we did sign him during the course of that last episode, but we'll introduce him into the first team through the bench with Ruben Colwell for now, keeping his spot. He has a good green link there with Marco Brun, which could just mean he holds on to that first team spot for a little bit longer otherwise than he would. But most of our other injuries, thankfully, have come to players who would be sitting on the bench or in our reserves anyway, so we are pretty close to full strength for this opening day of the season. Obviously, not expecting to get too much out of this game, but if we can, that would be an absolute bonus away from home against one of the better teams in the Premier League, and we'll come back shortly and play our first game in the top division in England as we take on Arsenal from the Emirates. And here are the team sheets for this first game of the Premier League season. There are Arsenal playing a 4-4-2. It does look like quite a strong Arsenal team as well. Going to be a tough ask. There we are. There's that lineup we ran through before. In terms of the bench and players there who otherwise wouldn't be, in the likes of Sterling, Gordon and Ziani, thanks to some of those niggly injuries some of our players picked up during the pre-season. But starting-wise, pretty close to full health. And we'll see how we get on here away at Arsenal. And it's only taken 2 minutes for the first highlight in this one. It is a throw-in inside the final third for Arsenal. Robbie finds his way inside the box, and Gabriel Martinelli will sweep that one home bottom left corner. And that is a rough start for us here in the Premier League, albeit we do need to calm expectations a little bit. This is one of the better teams in the league away from home, but that is pretty soft defensively there. No one marking Martinelli. He puts that one away, and we go 1-0 down early. And that was the only highlight of the first half of this first game of the Premier League season. So thankfully, we only go 1-0 down into the sheds. It could have been a bit worse, but in terms of the actual stats from this game, we're not doing that badly in terms of shots and shots on target. Exactly the same, just our XG a lot lower than Arsenal's, as you would expect. El Bloshy did pick up a yellow card in that first half, but to be fair, has been one of our better players. Perry Igno not going that well at halftime. Dujon Sterling will come on for him, but that will probably be our only change as we get things back underway in the second half. Hopefully, we can somehow find a way to turn this around. We'll get things back underway, 1-0 down. And just over 10 minutes into the second half, we do have the ball, so hopefully this might be a highlight in our favour as we do look now to play out from the back after passing it back. El Bloshy links up with one of his fellow new signings there in Sully, the Romanian left winger. We get the ball back. Good chance there for Dominguez. He finds Marco Brun, but I'm pretty sure that one is going to get ruled out for Brun being a good margin offside. We'll just make sure that VAR does agree, but it's pretty clear cut from this camera angle that we are using. And indeed, that goal does get disallowed. So unfortunately, we put the ball in the back of the net, but it is going to get ruled out, rightfully so, as Fulham are drawing with Man United. Bit of a surprise there, but just shy of the hour mark. We are still 1-0 down. And just as I was trying to wrap up that last bit of play that we did see, we do have a throw now on the halfway line. So it does look like to start the second half, we are a bit more on the front foot and holding position. So hopefully we can make the most of that. McGuinness will switch this one out to the right-hand side for Dujon Sterling off the bench. Starts to make his way down that right wing. Does a good job too. Just holds things up. Plays that one in there for Rinomhota. El Bloshy back out for Rinomhota. And he forces a very good save there from Aaron Ramsdale, trying to pick out that top left corner. That would have been some goal. And now we have a corner, which El Bloshy, our set-piece taker these days, will put into the mixer. Erhogheide gets his heel on the end of it. It comes off the bar, so we've gone close now a few times. But we are still 1-0 down. And off the back of that, it is a goal kick to Arsenal. So a bit happening in the second half. Things picking up off the back of a fairly quiet first half off the back of Arsenal grabbing that early goal to put them in the lead through Martinelli. Good work there from McGuinness to get the ball off of Jesus. And now we try and play out from the back. Goodmanson just turns, but a bit lazy on it there. And Jesus does get the ball back for Arsenal, but thankfully Sully robs Ødegaard there. And we play Brun in behind. What can he do from a tight angle? Unfortunately, that shot is a little bit weak. And we are still down 1-0 with about 25 minutes left, and it might be time for us to make some substitutions. McGuinness not doing that well, so Nelson will come on for him. And also Brun only on a 6.1 I think we'll give Ziani a go with Atete currently out with a bit of a niggly injury and see if we can grab an equaliser in these last 25 minutes. And only a couple of minutes off the back of those previous substitutions, we now have a free kick here in a dangerous area inside this final third. Our Bloshy will try and put this one towards the far post. He does a decent job here. Urhog Hyde can't quite get there, and then Nelson gets his head on the end of that, and Ramsdale must have got a very important touch on that, because otherwise that might have found its way into the back of net. We're showing a bit of heart here in the second half, which is nice. Unfortunately, nothing coming from that subsequent corner for now, and Saka does control that, and Jesus here might get a chance on the counter-attack, but thankfully we do win the ball back with about 20 minutes left. We are still 1-0 down, but we might make our last few substitutions, seeing as Sully has just picked up a yellow card, so I think we'll bring Jacques on for him, and also our Bloshy playing quite well, but has that yellow card and down to a red heart, so our club captain still in Joe Ralls can come on for him. And also, we might just chuck some of these players on a bit more of an attacking duty in the form of Colwell for this last 20 minutes and see if that does help us grab an equaliser with 20 minutes left. And we are inside the last 15 minutes of this one. It is a free kick here for Arsenal. They get a hit on the end of that through Saliba, but thankfully that's a pretty safe save there for Mixado to keep it at 1-0. And he pumps this deep. Jacques doesn't win that one in the air. Trincao will control that. And Arsenal here will look for a cushion goal, but thankfully too much on that one, and Mixado will claim it. Thankfully, we are showing a bit in the second half, and are still in the fight, only being 1 goal down, so if we find a bit of form late in this one, we could actually grab something out of this game, and that would be a big bonus for us, as this is not a game I was banking on getting points out of. Good work there from Rinamota to win the ball back, and Jacques now inside the box. Tenny brings him down, and I think that is going to be a penalty given away there by the Scottish international. Now, we'll just make sure I've got my set piece taker sorted out. I forgot about that in amongst all that transfer business that we did do. And as it works out, Zakaria Ziani has come off the bench and will be our best penalty taker. So hopefully he will be taking this penalty, provided that it is given, which I think based on what we did see, it should be, as we do wait for VAR here in the Premier League, and thankfully that decision has been upheld, and it is Ziani, the young striker who we did sign at the start of last season, with a chance here from the spot. He sends Ramsdale the wrong way, and with about 12 minutes left in this one, we do grab an equaliser. Ziani with his first goal in the Premier League. Of course, that will be the case for most of our players, seeing as Cardiff have been in the Championship for so long, but that could be a big goal with less than 10 minutes to go in this one. It is locked up now at 1-1 at the Emirates. And shortly off the back of that equaliser, we do now have a throw-in around the halfway line. Sterling tries to loop that one over the top for Ziani. We do somehow keep that ball though, and we're getting a bit on top of Arsenal in the second half, I think it is fair to say, albeit Sterling there did give the ball away, but Nelson will win it back, and we might get a chance in this highlight to potentially grab all 3 points, which would be absolutely massive on the opening day of the season, where Arsenal can sometimes be a little bit generous, it is fair to say, over the course of the last few seasons in the Premier League, albeit as I say that Martinelli gets on the attack, but thankfully Sterling there does some quite good work, and we might get a chance here on the counter-attack, as we do have a little bit of an overlap here by the looks of it. Colwell, that ball falls rather fortunately to Dominguez, bit too much on that one, looking for Jacques, but Tenny's challenge falls back to him, puts that one in for Joe Ralls in a little bit of space, and the captain off the bench will sneak that one past Aaron Ramsdale with 5 minutes left. Off the back of that, we are going to slow things down massively, because that could give us a massive 3 points on the opening day of the season here away at the Emirates. Will put some players on more defensive duties off the back of us putting them more attacking, with around about 20 or 15 minutes to go in that last passage of substitutions that we did make. Also, we'll go back to a mid-block and regroup, hold shape, and slow the pace down, as well as get our goalkeeper to maybe take short kicks and distribute to the defenders. But that is a big goal off of the bench from our captain. Jacques having a big impact on this one off of the bench. And we now lead Arsenal 2-1 away at the Emirates after being 1-0 down for most of this game. But to be fair, as I said before, we have played quite well in the second half. Ramsdale probably should be keeping that one out. It's fair to say I'd be a bit annoyed if that was my goalkeeper. but not long left in this one now, and we are 2-1 up as we do enter injury time, and there is 4 minutes. Renamotta has picked up a yellow card. Maxado pumps that one long, Zinchenko wins it in the air, but thankfully Sterling gets in the way, but Vera still on the attack here for Arsenal. A little bit iffy, but Urhog Hyde will head that one away, and again we might get a chance here on the counter-attack as Dominguez did win that header. Hopefully we just keep the ball here and can hold it around the halfway line or in their half. Renamotta plays a ball over here for Jacques. Unfortunately doesn't link up, but Jacques wins this. It's a tight angle. Will he get a shot off? Unfortunately not. It takes a block and it will go out surprisingly for a goal kick. And now one more highlight with just over a minute left in this one. But even if we get a draw out of this game, it would still be a pretty good result for our first game back in the Premier League against one of the bigger teams away from home. But ideally in this situation, we would hold on for all 3 points as Arsenal are trying to launch one last attack in this one. They play a ball forward. Sterling, thankfully, will head that one out. There is less than 20 seconds left in this one as Saka puts the throw-in into the mixer. Martinelli back to Zinchenko, but thankfully Sterling deals with that. Dominguez forward to Ziani, tries to flick that one on for Jacques. Can't quite link up, but that is full time. We come from behind late in that second half, that penalty through Ziani, and just under 10 minutes later, Joe Ralls from a tight angle past Ramsdale at his near post, and that is a big win away from home. And based on the stats, especially that second half, hard to argue we did not deserve something out of that game. So that is a really encouraging performance on the opening day of the season, especially with some of our better players not performing that well. Thankfully, those ones that came off the bench actually did a pretty good job, and already we're exceeding expectations for this opening month of the season as we pick up 3 points there on the road against Arsenal. That is a big result, and we'll come back shortly and preview our second game of the season, our first home one as we host Aston Villa, off the back of them picking up a 3-0 win against Stoke City. So a brilliant opening result for us there to start off the Premier League season. As you can see, even if we don't pick up the maximum points from the second game in today's episode, we'll still be in quite a nice spot after the first 2 games, because there are some teams down near the bottom like Arsenal, Man United and Liverpool, as well as Tottenham, who are yet to pick up a win. So already we're going to have a little bit of a buffer on those good teams, as well as some of those ones who might be expected to be in a relegation fight alongside us, albeit still early days, but a good result. Hopefully we can back it up as we take on Aston Villa at home, our first home fixture in this Premier League season these days, managed by Alfred Schroeder, but they've still got some quite good players there currently at the club, including their vice-captain in Emi Martinez, albeit it looks like these days he's been usurped a little bit by Justin Bilo in goal, but they are playing a 4-3-3. Some interesting names there, the likes of Patrick Schick, Callum Hudson-Odoi, Weston McKennie, in amongst some others. Still got Matty Cash, and they've also got Sven Botman that it looks like they are playing at left back, but I think it's fair to say this team not quite as strong as that one that we did beat on the opening day of the season, albeit they picked up a quite good result against Stoke 3-0, albeit we did something similar against those guys in the Championship last season. I think this game, probably our most winnable one in the Premier League in the month. So hopefully we find a way here to at least pick up a point and make it 4 from our first 2 games, which might give us a bit of a free hit in that last Premier League game before we do enter deadline day when we take on Tottenham in the next episode at the start of next week. But we come into this one with no injury concerns, thankfully, so we'll come back shortly and hopefully keep our good start to life in the Premier League going as we take on Aston Villa from Cardiff City Stadium. And here are our team sheets for the second game of today's episode. We've got Ben Hardy back at right back, but apart from that, exactly the same team, and also our bench a little bit stronger, but Ziani holds his spot on the bench, seeing as he got that penalty off the bench. So Tete for the moment will sit in the reserves, and there are Aston Villa, very similar to what we did see before on the club info page, and hopefully at home we can pick up some more points and get off to a good start here in the Premier League. And just shy of the 10-minute mark, we get our first highlight in this one. It is Aston Villa on the attack here, but Goodmanson, good work there. We'll tap that one back to Maxado through that tackle. Thankfully clears that one before Aston Villa get a player onto him. And Broom wins that ball in the air, and now Sully gets past his man there. Tight angle will beat Bilo, and he scores his first goal competitively for the club. And we carry on where we left off there against Arsenal and grab an early 1-0 lead. And this has been some start now in this season in the Premier League. Already scoring 3 goals, and Sully here from a tight angle somehow puts that one back of the net, albeit it actually took a quite big deflection there off the arm of Bilo. But at home we go 1-0 up early against Aston Villa. And 10 minutes off the back of that opening highlight, we are down the other end now for a throw-in to Villa. They put that one deep in the mixer, but thankfully we do clear it. And a good chance here for us to do something on the counter-attack as Colwill shifts this one out to Ben Hardy, who takes his time to try and get something going, plays that one back for Dominguez, makes his way in field. Our Bloshy holds things up on the edge of the box. Goodmanson might try and put this one into the mixer. He does for Colwill. Good chance there, but just puts that one wide, but a good start. But we are still only up by 1-0, just past the 20-minute mark. And shortly off the back of that previous highlight and adjusting some opposition instructions, it is a free kick now for Aston Villa inside their half, but thankfully Mark McGuinness is there to tidy things up, and we look to play out from the back. Aston Villa though win a header at the back, and Oliver Skip now is in possession. We'll find Botman, albeit doesn't quite link up. Dominguez there does some good work. Botman wins it back, but Hardy's there to get possession back for us, and now we find Dominguez with no one in front of him there down that right-hand side. He somehow keeps that despite the work of Watkin, and might get a chance here from a tight angle. Probably should have looked to square that one for Marco Blun. Puts it over the bar, but certainly on top of them at the moment, about halfway through this first half. We are still 1-0 up as Skip is off the field in this highlight, and Botman for some reason there just gives us the ball straight back from that throw-in. So we might get a chance to do something here against the 10 men of Aston Villa for the moment, as Goodmanson plays that one over for Sully, the goal scorer, but they do deal with it, and Zhong plays the ball forward here looking for Schick, but thankfully McGuinness is there to tidy things up. And Hardy now starts to try and get something going for us down this right-hand side, which has been quite profitable for us so far in this game. And Dominguez makes his way inside the box. That shot gets blocked. It falls straight into the hands of Bilo. And that might be that highlight just shy of the half-hour mark. And we are still 1-0 up. And just about the end of the last 5 minutes of this first half, and we do have a late free kick here, which unfortunately Diego Carlos will head back to Bilo in goal off the back of us looking for a ball over there for Marco Brun, the goalkeeper. Will pump this one deep. Schick does head that one on, but thankfully Erhog is there to tidy things up. He does find Rinomota, and we might get a chance here to do something yet again. But in most of these highlights that we have seen, we have been quite threatening, which has been good to see in our first home game this season. McGuinness now finds Hardy, and yet again might look for Dominguez. In fact, he finds Marco Blun, but unfortunately that shot goes straight into the arms of Bilo, but to be fair, he was offside anyway. And right off the back of that, we are shown a free kick here in favour of Aston Villa. Diego Carlos moves that one forward to Sambi Lakonga, and now it's a chance for Patrick Schick to try and grab an equaliser. He will do so. It's the first thing they've really done that's looked threatening in this entire game, but just shy of half-time, Aston Villa do grab an equaliser, and hopefully we can respond quickly, because to be fair, I think we have looked the better team in this first half, but have blown a few good chances. Unfortunately, Aston Villa quite clinical with that one, and they make it 1-1, a few minutes shy of half-time. And we have got one more highlight in this first half. It's a free kick in our favour in the first minute of 2 of added time, as we try and make our way into the opposition half and maybe grab that lead yet again before we head into the sheds. And now Bloshy ball over the top here. Bilo has a shocker, doesn't deal with it, and Marco Brum will tap that one in to an open net. He gets his first goal of the season, and thankfully we were not down for long. It's fair to say so far today we've capitalised on a few average goalkeeping mistakes, and Marco Brun this time is the beneficiary. The ball kind of scrambles between him and Bilo. It's a simple tap in, and that should mean that we do go into half time 2-1 up. Indeed it is the case, and based on those highlights that we saw, I think it's a fair scoreline considering Aston Villa only had one threatening attack. We had quite a few, and thankfully eventually did make them count. So we go into the sheds with a 2-1 lead. We'll make one change here at halftime. Mikel Sheck will come on for Dominguez on a 6.4, but I think that will do it for substitutions at halftime. Quite happy with the way that we are playing. Hopefully we can hold on and make it 6 points from our first 2 Premier League games as we hold a 2-1 lead over Aston Villa. And just past the hour mark, no highlights so far in the second half, but Ben Hardy has just picked up a yellow card, so Perry Ing will come on for him for our first sub of the second half, still with a 2-1 lead. And shortly off the back of that first substitution for the second half, there is a throw-in here for Aston Villa inside the final third. Rinomhota tries to deal with it, but unfortunately heads that one straight out to Emerson. Thankfully, his dangerous shot does just go over the bar, and we still hold on to our 2-1 lead as we do come up to the 70-minute mark. There is a highlight which is about to start, but a few players here have picked up yellow cards, so we might make some substitutions. Mike Stovall can come on for Goodmanson. The American can get his first run of Premier League football. And also Ruben Colwill only going okay today, so we'll give Facundo Farias some game time, his first football as well for Cardiff in the Premier League. So we'll make those 2 substitutions. We've still got one that we can save up for our last stoppage. And this highlight will take place. The Mexado clears it from a goal kick. They do win it there, do Aston Villa. And our Bloshy unfortunately does lose out on possession, so they will get a chance here to do something with just under 20 minutes left. As Botman is in possession for Aston Villa. We'll play that one for Sambi Lakonga. And then good slide tackle there from Rinomhota to win possession back for us. He gets the ball, plays it for our Bloshy. Nice ball over the top for Marco Bruin, who is onside, but unfortunately Bilo there gets a good hand on that to just disrupt that potential shot, and we still hold a 2-1 lead just heading in towards these last 10 minutes. And we have just entered the last 10 minutes of this game, just seeing if anyone out there is tired, and Rinomhota doing some good work today is down to a red heart, so Connor Coventry can come on for him with our last substitution, and still with that 2-1 lead. And we are just entering injury time in this one. We have hit the 90-minute mark, so I think it is time for us to go with a cautious mentality and do lots of that stuff that we did in the later stages of that Arsenal game first up in today's episode to make sure that we do try and hold on here to this 2-1 win. This would be a brilliant start to the Premier League season for us, picking up 6 points from games where I was kind of hoping we could pick up 1.6 points is well beyond expectations, and make sure that we have done a lot better than expected in this opening month of the season. Inside the last 2 minutes now of injury time, and it looks like, and we do hang on here for yet another 2-1 win. That one a bit different from the Arsenal game this time. We took an early lead. Patrick Schick did grab an equaliser just shy of half-time, but thankfully Marco Brun did make the most of an error from Bilo in goal. And despite the fact that Aston Villa did get off more shots, we do end up with a 2-1 win, and that does mean, as I said, it is a very good start to life in the Premier League for us here at Cardiff City, already picking up 6 points from our first 2 games, and hopefully, if we can continue like this, it should mean we will not be in a relegation battle come the end of the season. As you can see, some of those big teams, as mentioned earlier, have struggled a little bit to get started this Premier League season, so thankfully we have made the most of that, and we get off to a brilliant start, picking up 2 2-1 wins away at Arsenal and just there at home against Aston Villa. And back in the inbox off the back of those 2 games in today's episode, as stated, 2 very good results for us there as well. 2-1 wins away at Arsenal and at home to Aston Villa. Fair to say that first win very, very big against a team like Arsenal at the Emirates, and it does mean we are already second on the Premier League table, albeit take that with a pinch of salt, but hopefully we can continue this early season form, and that might give us a platform to make sure that we do not end up in a relegation battle, and also quite good for us as well to beat 2 teams who are going to be taking part in European football this upcoming season as well. But that will do it for the first gameplay episode for this new season in the Premier League here at Cardiff City. If you did enjoy those 2 wins, then do remember to go down below, leave a thumbs up on the video, and if you haven't done so already and are enjoying this series here on the channel, also remember to hit that subscribe button and turn that notification bell on as well. We'll come back at the start of next week, and I think we will take on Tottenham at the end of the month. We'll skip over that EFL Cup game against Shrewsbury, which we are probably going to rotate our team for a little bit, but against the team who are down the divisions a little bit, I'd like to think that is still a game that we can win with some rotation, as well as a few suspensions that we do need to deal with as well. And we'll come back and take on Tottenham at home. They've got off to a rough start, currently bottom of the table. If we can continue our form from those first 2 games, that could be a winnable one for us. But to be fair, a bit of a free hit off the back of those results that we did pick up in today's episode. And then we will get stuck in to January transfer deadline day, still looking for a better ball-winning midfielder than Andy Rinomhota, albeit he did play quite well in today's episode. And we'll see if we can get any other players in. We still have a little bit of transfer budget, £13 million, 70,000 in wage budget, and still looking to move on some players as well. So it could be a busy transfer deadline day this time around to start off next week. And we should have more videos next week as well. Should be a bit more onto it than we were this week. Apologies for the lack of videos, but we did have to get through that off season before we did get stuck in to Premier League action. But we've got off to a good start. Hopefully we can continue that against Tottenham at the start of next week. So until then, for that game against Spurs and transfer deadline day, thank you very much for watching. Keep on keeping on, and I'll see you then. Cheers.